New simple raid farm for Minecraft Bedrock Edition. This ultra reliable build will get you thousands of emeralds per hour, tons of totems of undying, along with enchanted books, potions, and the hero of the village effect to make your villager trading cheaper. Everything that you see in these chests right here, you're going to be getting thousands and thousands of per hour on top of all of the other emeralds as well. You can get basically any enchantment book in the game, and that includes mending, like this incredible book right here. So every hour that you use the farm, you're going to get about 1,300 emeralds, and that's from about 14 raids, and you're gonna get about, 10 other double chests of loot as well. And of course, this is also a pillager outpost farm, so you're gonna be getting all of this junk down here as well, which you can mostly just throw away, but we need this farm for the ominous bottles to start more raids. So you get a ton of different stuff from this farm. Obviously, the pillagers drop a lot of different items, including the enchanted books like mending, vindicators give you a ton of emeralds, evokers give you the lovely totems of undying, and witches just give you so many different items. We also have the option of getting saddles from this farm because everybody loves the saddles, and because you're getting the hero of the village effect, you can also use this with your villager trading halls to get just so many different items that way. This is really two farms in one. We have a pillager outpost farm down at the bottom. This will produce you the ominous bottles, which you need to summon the raids. And due to the newer mechanics, the top of the farm can actually be built anywhere in the Minecraft world that you want. You do not need to build above a pillager outpost anymore. So the top of the farm is really basic. We have a big platform of water where all the mobs spawn. The Ravagers get killed in the trident killer and in the lava, and then all of our normal pillagers go into a tiny 1x1 trident killer, which is so quick that I've never once had vexes spawn in this farm. And that means when you're standing down here at the AFK spot, you are completely safe from absolutely everything. Vexes, the rest of the raid, phantoms, and lightning, and all that stuff. There's basically no way for you to die. Now, unfortunately, due to the newer mechanics, every time a raid ends, you have to wait for a raid cooldown bar, which takes 30 seconds, so they've nerfed raid farms that way, and also you now have to manually drink a raid ominous bottle as well. Typically, this has a 30-second countdown before the raid begins, but I have not been having that happen, so it just kind of starts the raid immediately, and if you drink an ominous bottle during that 30-second cooldown, it's just going to completely waste the bottle and not start a raid. There's actually a third nerf to raid farms as well. So these are the pillager captains, and if you have a raid running anywhere in this area, they just will not spawn at your outpost. So these guys are only going to spawn during the raid victory cooldown, which lasts 30 seconds. However, it's actually more than enough. So every hour you'll complete around 14 to 15 raids, and you're actually going to get plenty of ominous bottles. As you can see, we get about 5 times more than we need from the farm. And after you complete a raid, you're going to get 40 minutes of the hero of the village effect. This means that you can go to any villager trading hall in the entire world, and you'll automatically get a discount at those villagers for cheaper prices. So there's a few different ways that you can customize the farm and use it to the way that you want. So right now at the top of the build, all of our mobs are spawning in this 2.5 block tall area because that helps to push them into the trident killers much faster, especially the Ravagers. So all these guys by default are always going to take damage by the lava because that's a nice reliable way of killing them, but we also have an optional trident killer in there that you can use if you want to kill them much faster. This will increase the amount of experience that you get. It will also make your entire farm much faster. Now, this does mean that you're going to get saddles, and saddles are just horrible. Now, because the Ravagers are so big and clunky, they do occasionally push around the trident in your top trident killer, so after like an hour or two, you might have to go up there and rethrow that trident. We're also using an incredibly fast trapdoor trident killer right here for the rest of the mobs, and it just absolutely destroys these guys. The evokers never have any time to summon vexes. However, trapdoor trident killers can be a little bit finicky, and if you don't want to use that, you can simply swap it out for a piston trident killer. Even with the piston-based trident killer, they should still never have time enough to summon in a vex. Another nice thing about this AFK spot is that all the experience is going to get caught up here. That way, if you're moving around or something and you miss some experience, it's not going to fall all the way down to your storage system. It'll be right there ready for you to pick it up. If you like these kinds of Minecraft tutorials, then consider subscribing, but let's jump into the tutorial. These are all the materials that you're going to need to build the farm. This is for the main upper raid farm itself, and this is for the lower trident killer and bad omen farm. A full materials list is down in the description of the video. So the first thing that you need to do is find yourself a pillager outpost. Just about any will do. Now, when picking out a pillager outpost, you want to find one that's in a nice flat area, kind of like this one. If you have a large mountain next to your pillager outpost, or or if this is on the side of a mountain, then I would skip it, because that means that raids are more likely to spawn on the ground, and you would have to spawn proof the area, which is kind of a hassle. So once you've decided on a pillager outpost, you're going to go to the very top floor of this thing and find your stairway 2 blocks to the side of this very top stairs. So this block right here is always going to be your very first spawning spot. So now you want to pull out yourself a locator map. That little white icon is going to be your player, and you want to face that towards the top of the map. That is going to be north. So pillagers still spawn on the northwest corner of blocks. So we're going to put up a temporary block right there, and then getting yourself 4 glass panes right here, going to that northwest corner. So if you go ahead and kill all the pillagers in the area and then back up about 30 blocks, you should see pillagers spawn between those 4 glass panes. So give it a few seconds, make sure all the guys in the area are dead, and you should see one spawn right inside of this area. If you see one spawning right inside these panes, you know that you have the spawning spot, and we're good to go. Now, you have a small chance of other spawning spots around this area as well, so I'll show you where those are. We're just going to block them up and prevent them from spawning in those other places, because we don't need them for this farm. So your top spawning spot is always 2 blocks to the side of your top stair, and then from there, you're just going out to the edges of your pillager outpost, and there's always going to be 7 blocks in between your spawning spots. As you can see, there's 7 blocks in between, and then the 8th block, technically on the outside edge of the outpost, is where you could have another spawning spot. And again, the same thing goes for this side, and then you could even have one in this very corner as well. Now, chances are you don't have 4, you probably only have 1, maybe you have 2, but if you have other pillagers spawning in the area after you've like blocked up that thing, then simply go ahead and mark out your little 9x9 square with your 7 blocks between the spots, and then just go ahead and put in a glass block on the ground down here, wherever you would have one of these spawning spots, and this will completely prevent them from spawning. Of course, you also need to remove the block up here that they would spawn on. Now, I've seen some reports in the community of people having pillagers spawning on the little tents and other little structures that spawn around the pillager outpost. I've never been able to confirm that myself, but if you're having guys spawn over here, you can just cover up this entire area in leaves or some slabs, or do whatever you want to spawn proof that. So once you've blocked up all of your other spawn spots and all of your pillagers are spawning right here, just go ahead and kill absolutely all of those guys. Pull out your locator map again and make sure that you're facing to the north. We're going to go ahead and put in ourselves a couple of blocks right here to the south and to the east side. Again, those pillagers spawn on the northwest corner. We need to get in ourselves a stair block right here and right here as well, and then box in this area a little bit with some extra blocks. We're going to go ahead and build this up on the back side as well, so it looks a little bit something like this, and then you can go ahead and break out your glass panes. We're going to put 1 glass block directly above that spawning spot right there, and then you can also put in yourself a torch to stop other hostile mobs from spawning in there. So now go ahead and put in this block, and we're going to mine out these 3 blocks right here, and maybe even a couple extra so we can see what we're doing. So we need to install a couple of double chests down here in the floor, and then a couple of hoppers behind this, lined up with this little chute right here, as you can see. And then we're just going to cover that up with a piece of glass and fill in our floor again. So we just need this 1 block going downwards right here for the water to flow in. If you don't have this empty block right here, then your thing isn't going to work. So go ahead and put in yourself a couple of extra solid blocks there and right there as well. Now we're going to click on our stairs with a water bucket and a water bucket right there. Both of those are going to flow downwards into that hole, and you should not have water on top of your spawning spot. If you have water on top of your spawning spot, you did something wrong. And if you absolutely cannot figure out your water, then just put a piece of scaffolding on your spawning spot to make sure there's no water there. Also, FYI, you cannot have a torch on your spawning spot, because that just like stops things from spawning for some reason. So now that we've gotten this built up, you can put in yourself a temporary block right above your hopper that's going to update your water so that it flows outwards, and then we're going to burn our experience in some fire. That way it doesn't cause any lag. Before we get to that, we're going to go ahead and fill up this wall right here with some glass blocks. Go ahead and put in ourselves a few glass blocks in the ceiling as well, and then we need 1 more right here. And then we're just going to put in a solid block on this side and another glass block right here as well to build up the trident killer. So building up the trident killer is really easy. Just place in a temporary block right here, and then we need a piston facing inwards towards this little empty area right here that we have. We're going to go ahead and put in ourselves a repeater right here on 2 ticks. Piece of redstone dust above this block, solid block right there, a redstone torch right there, which should power your piston, and then we're going to put in ourselves a solid block above that, and that should start clocking, as you can see here. To turn this thing off, just put in a lever lever right here and flick it, and your piston should not be extended when the farm is off. And then just throw any old trident you want in there, and that'll automatically kill your mobs. Now, if you want to burn your experience, we're going to add a little bit of fire right here on the end. If you don't care about burning your experience or the lag, you can just put in a solid block right there and you'll be good to go. But to burn the experience, you're going to want a piece of netherrack right here. Remove your couple of extra things to the side. Now, if you don't have fire tick turned on, then you can just like put a piece of fire right there and you're done. If you do have fire spread turned on, then you're going to want to be careful. You need a piece of netherrack right there, and then you need some buttons in these areas right here. And you also need some buttons on the roof as well, because it spreads really far upwards, surprisingly. But once you have it set up like this, you can light that on fire, and then your outpost shouldn't burn down. Shouldn't. And that's your entire Pillager Outpost farm done. If you want to upgrade this system for some reason, or if you have multiple spawn spots and you want to farm all of them, or if you want a storage system, I got some extra tutorials linked down in the description for all of the extra information you could possibly need, but that's beyond the scope of this video, and it's way more than you need for a regular raid farm. And now it's time to build the upper part of the farm way up in the air above the outpost. So you want to go onto the roof of the outpost and find the very center block. You can just count these edges. These are, 5 blocks wide on both sides. So that makes it really easy to find where the center block is. So what I would do is I would just get 35 blocks on the hotbar and then just pillar on up. And then you'll know that you're at the right height. So this right here is our 35th block. For me, the top of the outpost is at Y84. And then my AFK spot is going to be at Y119. That is a 35 block difference. You want to leave this pillar in until the end of the build, actually. And then we're just going to build ourselves a little 3x3 platform on top of this out of leaves. And this is where your AFK spot is going to be. I'm going to mark the middle of it with a different type of leaf. So this is your AFK spot. And now we need to go up by another 15 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And this one for me is going to be at Y134. We're going to put a marker block on the middle of this because this is going to be the middle of your actual raid farm spawning platform. So we're just going to start building up this platform. You can leave this pillar in right here if you want to for now. You'll probably need it for like ladders or scaffolding to go back up and down. But basically this upper platform is just going to be going 4 blocks in each direction for a total of a 9x9 platform. So just, bridge out by 4 blocks on each side until you have one big old square, and then go ahead and fill that in with your solid blocks. And this is what our 9x9 platform looks like. So if you pull out your locator map, as you can see, we are facing north. Now we're going to face towards the southeastern part of this platform right here, as you can see by our little locator map. And we're just going to break out this 2x2 corner. That way all of the raiders get pushed towards this southeast corner and go into our trident killers. And now we're going to build up the walls on this platform. So we're going to start on this front wall with a solid wall of glass right here, just because it's really nice to be able to see into your farm. And then we need a temporary block on the corner and 4 more glass blocks going towards the back right here. And then the rest of this thing is just going to have solid blocks going all the way around this platform. And this is what it should look like. Now, these walls are going to be a total of 5 blocks tall. Your glass only needs to be a total of 3, and then the top 2 blocks are just going to be solid blocks above that. So go ahead and build up this thing by 5 blocks all the way around. So this is what it should look like. As you can see, it's just a big old box in there with a bunch of glass on the front so you can see in there. Now we're going to go onto the inside of the build and we're going to install some upper slabs in the ceiling. These should be 2.5 blocks above the ground, and we're going to fill in this entire area with slabs. So that's our roof. Now when you get to this little corner with your drop chute over here, we're going to leave a 3x3 area right here of no slabs, and we're actually going to put some trapdoors in this area just so our Ravagers move up a little bit and get hit by our optional trident killer later on. So now that we have all of that done, you need to go ahead and fill in this entire thing with solid blocks. That way the riders of the Ravagers actually suffocate and die up here. This will reduce your rates a little bit, but it makes the farm more reliable, because if you don't do this, they're going to get stuck in your ceiling and your raid farm's going to break. You have to come up here and manually kill them. So it's looking pretty solid right now. Now we're going to go to our drop chute corner, and we're going to count in by 4 blocks from this corner. So that's 2, 3, and 4. And then we're just going to have ourselves a little 4x square right here of additional solid blocks just to suffocate even more of the raiders. Sometimes they'll dismount from the Ravagers and go up a little bit. It's kind of weird, but this one will deal with them So now we need to cover up this entire roof area with leaves. That way none of the raids can spawn on top of the farm. So now we're going to head down to our pillar, and you're probably going to want to install some bridges down here because we're going to need to build some stuff on the underside of this farm. But before we get to all of that stuff, we're going to head up into the inside of the farm, placing yourself a couple of signs right here on this edge, just like so. And now we're going to install the water in the back. So go to the back edge over here and put in yourself a couple of torches to light up the build. We need one water source in this upper corner right here, and then a water source beneath that torch, and then just every other block going to the edge. And don't place a water source on this very edge block right here. Now do the same thing on the other side, so water source, and then every other block going towards the edge, and skip that very edge right there as well. And you shouldn't have any water pouring out of here as long as you got your two signs in place and you've done the water correctly. And now we're going to install the trident killer right here in this corner. So place in yourself a temporary block right there, 2 solid blocks. You can remove that one. And now we need a little 2x2 leaf floor down here. We're going to go ahead and put in a glass wall on the left right here, just right underneath that floor. A couple more pieces of glass right here. And now you can go on the inside of the build, and we need to place in ourselves an activator rail. This is an activator rail, not a powered rail. You have to use an activator rail for this to work. You're going to turn it to the side so that's going, sideways like this. Put in yourself a solid block right here. We need in ourselves a solid block right there, and then a leaf block. Now go ahead and put yourself in a minecart right there, and we're going to go around this back edge and put in yourself a solid block and a lever on the side of that. And once you power that lever, this minecart should start shaking on the activator rail. And now if you click on this, then nothing's really going to happen. What we need to do is go ahead and break out the piece of glass that is directly above that leaf right there. Break that out and put in yourself a trapdoor and flick it so that it is vertical like this. Now when you get into this minecart, it's going to eject you right on top of this leaf, which is exactly what you want. That's going to put all of our pillagers straight into the trident killer. Now let's finish up our little section down here. We're going to place in a button on this block, and then we need to go down with another leaf right here. Go to the back side of this, and we need in a couple of leaves going to the side right here. Continue this out, and then we just need to line up this bar of leaves with our wall of glass from the beginning. And now you can go ahead and just completely surround this in an outline of leaf blocks. We're going to have water on the inside of this, so make sure there's leaves on all sides of it. And once you get to the end, we're going to have a solid block to either side of it like so, a wall connecting between there to line up all of your items. Those are going to be falling down to your AFK spot, and then you're simply going to go ahead and put in some leaves above all of that. So now go back to the top. We need in ourselves a couple of temporary blocks right here. We're going to place a water bucket against that one and a water bucket against that one. You break those out. That's going to push all of our items and experience directly down to your AFK spot for later. And then we need to do the same thing in here. So place in yourself a glass block right here, temporary block, and then we just need in ourselves a piece of water in that back corner right there. Fill in yourself a couple more pieces of glass, and then we need a leaf block right there. So now we're going to build up the upper trident killer. So go ahead and put in ourselves a second leaf block right there. We're going to bring this out by 3 leaf blocks on the side. 2 right there, and then put in yourself a sign right there. We're going to place in ourselves a water bucket, and that's going to flow into that sign. And now we just need to fill in the rest of this column. That way none of the items or experience fall out of there. As you can see, there is no gaps. It's all going to go straight down into the water. And now we're going to place in ourselves a couple of leaf blocks to either side right here. A solid block above them like so, and then 3 solid blocks going across the front right there. And now go ahead and get in yourself a grindstone on the side right here, and then a trapdoor with the hinge facing towards the south. If you pull out the locator map, you should be facing towards the bottom. Now, the hinge needs to be on the south just for reliability of the tridents. They're going to fall down less often. Now, directly above this, we're going to have a leaf block and then a trapdoor of the hinge on the top, and then another leaf block above that. And this upper trapdoor is purely for aligning your trident to the very edge of that block so that it hits the mobs every single time. And we're going to add in the tridents later on. And now we're going to add in the lava in the build. So you want to count from the left edge right here. This is block number 1, 2, and 3. So basically we're going to be placing in the lava right here. And then you just want a glass block in front of that. And then some solid blocks going up with a leaf at the very top. Now it seems like that should burn down your leaves, but it doesn't. So that's cool. And now we're going to go to the other side. So this is block number 1 right here, 2 and 3. We're going to break out this block right here, place in ourselves a piece of lava. We need a glass block right there, 3 solid blocks, and then some leaves above that. Now we need to break into the farm because I forgot something. So you can just break out 2 glass blocks and a slab. We're just going to walk in here real quick. You're going to add in a glass pane in the corner right there, and then just 1 piece of water at the top. And that is going to make your Ravagers float up and actually hit the lava sources. And now we're going to add the optional trident killer at the top of this thing. So we're going to add in a glass block right here on the corner, and then remove in these 9 blocks right here to reveal your corner trapdoor. So now we need in a piston facing right here and another one like so. And this is where you're going to throw in an impaling 5 trident to kill your Ravagers much quicker. It's going to get pushed into that corner. And remember, every couple hours, you might need to come back up here and rethrow that trident. Now, we need to completely refill in this entire area right here. That way you don't have any raids spawn or anything. We're going to fill in that corner as well and put in another leaf right there. So yes, to rethrow that trident, you will have to break out some blocks, break out these ones, and then go down there and pick it up. It's going to get pushed into this corner, kind of like into that block right there. Ravagers are really silly. There's just not much you can do about it. And again, it's an optional trident killer. They will die on the lava. It's just going to be much slower. And now we need to run the redstone line for all of this. So go down to this corner right here. We're going to place in a solid block right here and a comparator with subtract mode turned on. So that's the little redstone light on the front of that needs to be enabled. You need a solid block in front of that, 2 more solid blocks right here, and then redstone dust in all of these areas. It's going to also go up on that solid block next to your trapdoor, and then 2 more pieces of redstone dust right there. And now we need in 1 more solid block right there. We're going to stair step this down, and another one like this, so the redstone just runs straight up into this corner block, powering both of your pistons. And now all of this needs to be covered in leaves. Every single piece of your redstone needs to be covered up, even that one right there. All of this, and cover up your comparator as well. So it's ugly, but it works. And now we need an on switch for the farm, so go down to your AFK spot. We're going to place in ourselves a temporary block, leaf block on the edge, another temporary block, and then a redstone lamp right here. So this is going to be the on-off switch for your upper trident killers, of course. We need a redstone torch behind that, leaf above it, and then we're just going to go ahead and make ourselves a redstone torch tower going all the way up to the very top of the farm. And this should end with a redstone torch right underneath the block behind your comparator. So as you can see, that probably activated your redstone right there. If you remove that torch, then it's going to start clocking, as you can see there. And now at the very bottom, make sure you got a leaf on top of there. And now we're going to finish off the AFK spot. So go ahead and place in yourself a line of leaves down a block right here. This is going to go over by 3 blocks, and then it's going to go downwards by another block. Place in yourself a temporary block, and we're just going to build up ourselves a little drop chute of leaves right here on all sides. You can remove that bottom temporary block and replace it with a sign on the side. And now go ahead and completely surround the rest of this channel with some leaves. So it should be 4 blocks long, and then go down by a block on the edge. Now you need a temporary block right here and a water source. This is going to flow over on the edge. All of your items will fall straight down, and then all of your experience will flow up in that corner. So we're going to build this up by another layer. That way you have a bit of a railing going around your AFK spot. You don't want to fall off of this thing. Now, this is the bare minimum for your AFK platform. If you want to, you can expand this. You can make it any size you want, but everything, and I mean absolutely everything, has to be built out of leaves. Now, you can put down some like ender chests or some chests for storage, but those also have to be covered with leaves. Seriously, raids will spawn on literally everything, unless it's covered in leaves. Now we need to build up the drop chute for all of our items and experience up here. So go underneath your solid blocks and go down by 5 leaves. So that's 3, 4, and 5. And then you need to do that on all sides as well. And this is going to help align all of your items. That way they actually land in that little pool right there. So that's your drop chute installed. And now we need to place in a block right here so that if you stand in here, your head is at the same layer as that block. This is actually where your villager is going to be going. I'll show you how to get him up here in a moment. But once you have him up here, it's basically just going to be, you know, surrounded by leaves like this. And then your actual bed for the farm is going to be going right here with the pillow of the bed right underneath the middle of the platform up there. And then, of course, you can remove those blocks, replace them with some leaves. Now, it doesn't matter what type of villager you get up here, and there's a ton of different ways to get this villager up here. However, I think the easiest one is to use a pillar of scaffolding. So I've moved a lot of villagers, and normally how I do it is I get one of these guys in a boat, and then I connect that up with a lead, and then you can simply climb up some scaffolding. Now, if you do this wrong, they might like fly all around the place and, you know, kind of go crazy. But if you are just kind of chill with it, then you can get them to just land right on the scaffolding right there, and pull them right up, and you should be good to go. Now, even if this boat detaches and they go flying off into the distance, they shouldn't take fall damage and die. So it's a pretty safe way to get them up here. And then at the top of this, you're just going to have a little bit of a platform, and then you can pull them right on over and get them up here. And that is how I would recommend getting them into the farm. Otherwise, you could use like minecarts, you could use nether portals, you could use happy gas, you could do whatever you want to get that villager all the way up into the top of your farm. And make sure that your villager is standing on top of a leaf block, otherwise a raid will spawn in there, and I don't think that guy would really appreciate that. So once you have your villager up there and there nice and cozy, you can go ahead and remove your pillar of blocks. And now we're going to go ahead and install the lower storage down at the farm. So you can either line yourself up with this hole right here, or you can simply throw a bunch of items into this water stream, and they should all fall straight down. And now if we go down to the top of our outpost, we can simply break out this block, and then break it out some more until you get to the very bottom floor of this thing, basically. So we know this is the block that all the items from our raid farm are going to fall down on. Now, I'm just going to install some very basic item storage. So basically just a whole bunch of double chests down here, really as many as you like, and then some hoppers going into the backs of these things, and another double chest on the end. Bring a hopper line across the top of it, and that will store all of your items. It will not sort them. And remember, you're going to be getting about, 10, 11 double chests of items every hour of running the farms. If you want to, you can expand it to this bay of chests right here. And really, if you want like a much more advanced system like this, that really deserves its own video, because there's a lot of stuff that you would have to sort in a raid farm to make a proper system. You can also go ahead and remove your starter pillar from this thing. Now, if you want a proper way up to the top of the farm, you can use some scaffolding, or you can install a bubble column, or just a elytra, really whatever you want to do. Just make sure that it's all spawn-proofed of leaves. Installing the tridents in this build is really simple. You need to come up to the top right here, remove these two leaves, and then you're going to throw the trident at the middle of this trapdoor. Flick that up so that the trident falls down. It is now properly aligned right there, and then you can just reset this to how you found it. And again, to rethrow the trident for this one, you need to break out these 4 blocks right here, walk down in there to pick up your trident, and simply throw it back at this trapdoor. Fill in your 4 blocks, and then you're done up there. Now, due to bugs or occasional shenanigans, you might need to come back up here and rethrow your tridents. If you find that this trapdoor trident killer right here is not reliable enough for you, you can simply break out the leaves in all of these blocks, break out that trapdoor, remove this grindstone, replace it with a glass block, and then simply put in yourself a piston right here facing forwards, throw in your trident right there, and then you have a piston trident killer right here, which is, in theory, a lot more reliable, and then you can just go ahead and cover this stuff up with some leaves to prevent raids from spawning down there. And now your farm is ready to go and ready to use. So to use this thing, you simply want to turn on the lower trident killer, go down and collect yourself some ominous bottles if you have some. If not, then you need to go up to your AFK spot, wait a couple minutes to grab yourself some of these ominous bottles. Once you get up here with some ominous bottles, go ahead and drink one of those, and you should start a raid, or you'll have a 30-second cooldown before the raid starts. It's being a little bit inconsistent on that, but then you should see this raid bar fire on up. So all of your raiders should spawn inside of this thing right here. Assuming everything is properly spawn-proofed, they're going to drop down, get into your minecart, and go into your 1x1 trident killer. Make sure that your farm is turned on, that way they actually die. And as you can see, those guys get obliterated by our trident killer. So it's going to take you about 4.5 minutes to complete an entire raid, and remember to hold yourself a looting 3 sword while you are raiding. That way you get the maximum drops from your mobs. Once your raid is complete, wait for that victory bar to go away after 30 seconds, then you can drink another ominous bottle and you're good to go. And keep in mind, even though these have different levels of bad omen, they're all exactly the same when it comes to raid farms, so use whatever one you want. And a couple of last minute notes: you'll want to put down a lightning rod around the farm, that way lightning can't strike your farm and catch it on fire and possibly burn down all of your leaves if you have fire spreads on. Now, I've never personally seen this happen, but if you happen to have raiders like spawn on the very edge of the farm and then like fall out and land on the ground down below, now it shouldn't ever happen, but if it does, you can just go ahead and put some solid blocks in the floor right here. That way they don't fall out, and you can also go ahead and fill in your corners as well. If you happen to see raids spawning on the ground or possibly on top of your outpost, well, there's two reasons why that might happen. Either you have more village tech in the area, more beds, bells, villagers, or workstations. You should remove all of that stuff from this area and only have it at the very top of your farm. But otherwise, if you see some guys spawning down here, then a simple solution to that is either to just like remove this roof or cover up the entirety of this roof with leaves. That way they can't spawn here. You might also need to spawn proof of this upper floor, or perhaps even put in some leaves above this trident killer down here. And if you magically manage to get Vexes in this farm, then an easy way to help protect you is simply to box in your entire AFK spot. So go ahead and cover this area up, and then they won't see you and they won't have line of sight, so they shouldn't be able to like attack you. And if that still doesn't protect you, well, then spam down a bunch of boats. They'll get caught in the boats and then they'll just simply despawn after a couple of minutes. If you like this farm or this tutorial, then drop a like, share around the video, and subscribe for more Bedrock Edition tutorials, and thank you so much for watching.